Well, we are live. We are connected. And I see someone, Wayne Lion, has already joined us. Thank you guys. We're so glad you're here today. And as always, it's a lot to talk about. And
2 weeks, every 2 weeks. Lord have
I
mercy.
know, I know. And, of course, the government shutdown is looming and, we talked about it a little bit, but we also have, some serious elections, a lot coming up. And I know that's kind of your area of
Mhm.
expertise. I keep up with them a little, but, not all of the nuances that you do. And one of the things that I also wanted to talk about, because it is something that is near to me, is the military. There's just so much going on with that. And I think we can get started with, maybe the elections. Let you give us a little update on what we can be kind of,
Yeah, what's
looking
the
for.
watch? What's the watch? All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for Tuesday, what you're gonna watch is New Jersey. That's probably gonna be maybe the closest race of the governor's races. So pay attention to that. You have Jack Citarelli, also known as Jack Citronella, is what I call him.
I love that nickname.
And then you have against Mikey Sherrill, who was a congresswoman from New Jersey. She's running for governor, and that is probably the closest race, which they have it right now in terms of polling is probably within 5 points. So it's within the margin of error. So if you're watching to see on Tuesday, watch that race. The second race for governor would be Virginia, which is Abigail Spamberger versus Winston Earl Sears, aka Dry Ends, is what I call her.
The crazy lady.
And too crazy as I don't know what. And so that race, I will say if I had to make a prediction, I would say that Abigail's gonna win by 10 or more, maybe between like 10 and 12 points. I am hoping that the turnout looks like it's going to be decent, and I just don't see the people in Virginia voting for that crazy lady. So of course every election is about turnout and who is going to be the people that turn out to the election. And if you sit yourself at home, guess what's going to happen? The same thing that happened before when people decided that the couch was more important than actually showing up to vote. So I hope people learned their lesson from last year and will show up and elect these two women to be their governors. Then you also have in Virginia the attorney general's race. So that race had a lot of controversy because Jay Jones, who's a Democratic candidate, he had sent out some tweets, some texts way back when that came to light. And they were using that against him. Again, opposition research is the biatch, and so they use that against him. That race is based on polling is like within a point, so it could go either way, and we'll see. And then of course there's like a bunch of seats in Virginia, and there's also a bunch of seats at play in New Jersey that are local races for their legislature that are also in play here. So,
Yeah, there are like 54 or something, races,
oh yeah, there's a
that
lot.
are going on. So it's
Yeah,
really
no, there's a
important.
lot. There's a lot happening there. So pay attention to those. Those are the top ones that everyone is like paying attention to. Pennsylvania has Supreme Court justices are on the ballot. There's three, and what we want is to keep the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania, which will be very important to 2028 in the hands of the Democrats. We cannot let that flip. So people in Pennsylvania, if you know anyone there, remind them of the assignment. Go vote. There's not a lot on the ballot this year, but there's enough that people need to make sure they get out and vote. There's also like mayor's races as well. So hopefully people get out and do what they need to do. Of course, there's the the one that has been taking up everybody's attention, which is New York City, which is Mamdani and Cuomo, as well as Sliwa. And I think pretty much every poll shows that I don't think there's any poll that shows Cuomo is even within 10 points, maybe one that he's like 9 points, but he's gonna lose. Mamdani, whether you like him or not, is going to win, and how that looks going forward, dealing with Trump, what he can accomplish, how he governs is going to be a different situation than running an election. Elections and governing are not the same thing. So he's run a great campaign, but just running a great campaign does not mean that you will be a great mayor for the biggest city or the most populated city in the country. And I will say, as somebody who is a Democrat, I will never vote or want for or even pretend like I would want somebody, even if I don't like them, and I don't dislike Mamdani, I will say that. I don't he's not he I want him to succeed. Like, we should want our democratic elected officials to succeed. And so anyone that's saying, "Oh, I want him to fail," you're on the wrong side. Like, you should not ever want him to fail. Will he succeed? Only time will tell. But I would never root against a Democrat, no matter what. So I am hoping that he wins and wins handily, and I never have to see Andrew Cuomo ever again. That's my goal.
We
To
can
never.
pray.
We can
We
pray
can
because I'm
pray.
sick of him. I'm sick of
Yes,
him
and
in
I'm
every
I'm
single way.
really so sick of this race. I know it's important to the people of New York, and it is a large city, and it dictates a lot nationally for us. And I too want him to succeed. I don't know enough about the city or whatever to speak on it, so I'm so glad that you and others are. But I do what I am picking up because of this race and all of the chatter and, attention that it has drawn is for people to become more nuanced in their engagement and for people to look for candidates who will provide good governance and, not just optics. Like, people can talk a good game, but, are they going to be able to deliver? That's where the rubber meets the road, and people need to be nuanced in their selection of that. Like, they need to vet the people that they're voting for. Are they representing the issues that are of concern to you, representing them or have solutions that you feel are gonna be helpful. Now, granted, people can't always do everything that they say, but, like, if they're trying and they have a plan. I'm just so sick of the, kind of, I don't know, the just kind of the entertainment of, the horse race of everything and how
Yeah.
people try to make, like candidates or issues in one area of the nation, like a blanket thing across the board. And it's just not. We are, a federated nation. The people in the South where I live, have different issues and concerns than people in, New York and other places. So all of these issues, all the candidates, they don't translate, everywhere. And
Yeah, no,
people
for
who
sure.
live where they live deserve the best governance for where they live. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, a Mamdani likely may not win in Baltimore. Who's the biggest city in Maryland? Baltimore. People win where the constituents can relate to them.
mhm,
All politics is local. That's the way I look at it. And
absolutely.
and New York has a very specific kind of situation where the rent there is astronomical. So they want a rent freeze. These are things
Sure.
that they want. There is food deserts in New York. People think, oh, it's the biggest city, but there are food deserts. The cost of living is very high. The cost, even a Metro card, while they have public transportation, that is still high too. So free buses is something that people may want. Now, do people in New York realistically think that these things are going to happen? Maybe, maybe not. And I read a post from someone. They said, listen, I rather have hope for what we can have than no hope at all and not even try. So there are people who are thinking in those terms, and sometimes you need a little bit of hope. Now, are some of the things that he's proposing a little bit unrealistic? Absolutely. Is he a little bit naive? Maybe. But listen, some people want that, and I am okay with them wanting that, and they're gonna turn out and my hope for him is that people don't turn on him, which I already seen plenty of those leftists turn on him and say, "Well, he's not the way that we want him to be." Well, you're not. He has to govern for an entire city, not just for you guys, okay?
And
And
that is the thing. And that is where, for me, my mission, my issue is about civic engagement. And I feel that that is where, like, people put everything on the candidate, but some of this rests on the shoulders of the voters. And that is understanding civics and being engaged. You just can't start to pay attention or get fired up during an election, because I feel like that's where, you know, what has landed us here. Like people not, being apathetic, coming out to vote just for the major elections. Like, as you said, all politics are local, and every election in your local area matters because it predicts the governance, the type of public governance that you're going to have. I am so tired of people, looking at politics through this personality lens. Like, it
I
is nice to have people who can, you know, are very charismatic and, can really touch people and motivate them. But it's kind for me, because I work for doctors, so I can relate to this. I'd rather have someone who can get the job done. Like, there are doctors who have awful bedside manners, like
Yes,
terrible,
so
but
true.
they're very good at what they do. And so for me, it's kind of that same kind of expectations with, my public, my elected officials. Like, it's okay if you're not the greatest at messaging or PR and the optics, but do you have a game plan? Do you have a track record? Can you get shit done, basically?
Yeah. Well, I think the funny thing about the Mamdani thing is that I don't even think people understand kind of who's behind a lot of what Mamdani does and kind of strategically what is happening. So Patrick Gaspard, who is someone who is one of the people that has helped Mamdani through this election. He is a Black man. He worked for Obama. He worked for David Dinkins. He is very much influential on what and guiding Mamdani on how to, one, do outreach to the Black community. Number two, just kind of understanding the inner workings of the city and help guiding him through that. So when I look at a Mamdani, people say, well, DSA, DSA. But I'm like, no, the people that are actually moving this campaign are not the people within DSA. The person that's moving this is a person who has a vast amount of knowledge and is trying to help him to be successful in this race. And when I think about that, that gives me a little bit more confidence in what he can and can't do in the city. So it's not just like, oh, it's the whole. I mean, when you think about it realistically, there are 10,000 DSA in New York City, and that number has grown obviously since he has become the primary. When he won the primary, but that's only 10,000. He is going to get probably about 400, 500,000. My parents voted for him, and he is going to get. So he has what that little sliver of people wants is not what the majority of the people that are going to vote for him want. These are New Yorkers are pragmatic in every single way. And yes, there may be some issues that you have. I wrote a whole entire article about this on my Substack about how I see Mamdani being a little bit different than your average leftist. And I gave my reasons why. And I understand that people have issues with him or they think that he has said anti-Semitic things or he is anti-Semitic. There are also people who are very Islamophobic towards him because he is Muslim. So you have a lot of different dynamics that are playing out in this race. And I understand if people are apprehensive, they don't agree with him, they think that he should have done more outreach to certain communities. But the truth of the matter is, he's going to get the votes and he is going to win. I could say the same exact thing about Mikey Sherrill and the fact and her black outreach because it was horrific. I could say the same thing about Abigail Spanberg, who did a little bit better because she was the only candidate running in this race. So there's a lot of critiques that I could have about every single person who is running, but realistically, the goal is to get the Democratic candidates to be the nominee, who are the nominees, to be the now winner on Tuesday, and that's the goal. And how they govern from there, we will watch it play out. The other thing that's on the ballot on Tuesday is Prop 50.
Right.
So let's talk about that because Prop 50 will earn us hopefully 5 more seats to
Yeah.
be able to win in the Congress. And we saw today that even they're trying to cheat even more in Ohio. They were trying to pass, legislation to add more to kind of gerrymander this whole thing again, and that would add 2 more seats. Indiana still at play. Maryland, we're going back and forth here about what to do with our redistricting. I have my feelings on it. A lot of other people have feelings on it. There's a group of people that want to move forward. There's a group of people being saying it's too late. Let's not do this. It can cause more problems. Who's going to win that battle? I don't know. But we will find out. But there is a lot happening, and I think Gavin Newsom is sounding the alarm. Like these elections are not going to be as easy as people think. There are going to be, as you said, the military, the National Guard. Trump has a plan of what he wants to do, and his goal is to cause chaos. That is what he does best. And the elections, people say the elections are going to be canceled. No, the elections will not be canceled. The elections will be manipulated. There's a difference
Right.
in
They just
terms
want
of
and that's what I was, having conversations with people about this long ago. They were like, "Oh, we'll have election," and someone had said, "As long as there are white men wanting power, we'll have elections." So it's like, sure, I'm not denying that we won't have elections, but they may not necessarily be fair and free. Putin and Orban
exactly.
have
That's what I was just
elections.
about to say. Russia
Okay.
has elections every time, but they are not fair. And
And and
and we know the outcome of those elections. North Korea, I mean, these people have elections, but those elections are not like
it
our elections.
yeah, I
They're
mean,
not.
Viktor Orban calls his an illiberal democracy. It's just a democracy on the surface, a veiled look of democracy, but it's very authoritarian. And speaking of which, let's kind of move into the military thing because that is something that really, um, it is probably of all the things that he has done that has disturbed me the most, and it probably would a lot more if I had not read Project 2025 and knew that this was their goal. And I can see how how it's unfolding. And, one of the things that people need to be aware of is the number of leaders, generals, tacticians who are being fired or resigning. Either way you look at it, it's a purge. And what they're bringing in are loyalists. And not only are they bringing in loyalists and getting rid of the professional integrity and experience that all of these leaders hold, they are also using the military in very, very illegal ways. And there, as I talked about before, there is an ethos, there are laws around these things, but they are using the military out in these um, Caribbean waters. They're bringing major warships that are placed in those places strategically for a reason. My cousin was a Navy commander, and he's bringing I think it's a George Bush over, and that is a warship. They've already lost another. F-16 and helicopter. So what you are seeing is the kind of lack of leadership and expertise. So many accidents, and of course, accidents always occur, but the rate and the frequency of what's occurring just since they've been in office is unheard of. And I mean, you know, F-16 jets don't grow on trees. They
Exactly.
don't grow on trees.
Yeah, I remember too when the in when the when one of those ships were out in the Mediterranean.
Mhm.
They lost 2 of those F-16s, and I think I did the research, it was like $3 million down the drain. I mean, these things are not cheap, and I don't know, I just the whole Caribbean thing just bothers me because I feel like I hate to say this, but I feel like they're playing Battleship, like, they're just like, they have like, there's just a
And I used to love that
like
game.
like
I
just like
know.
just like just hitting these things, like these targets, and there and it feels like a whole bunch of like white men in a room are just like cheering, like yay,
Yes,
like
it like Heck said, that's exactly what he's acting like he's, like a virtual game or
yeah,
whatever, and he has all of these huge military, things at his disposal, and then he has Donald in his ear telling him crazy things to do, like now they wanna start testing the nuclear weapons, and that is only because Putin has, unveiled a new weapon. It's a torpedo. It's an underground thing that is capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. So it's like he wants to get into a pissing contest, and there is a reason why we, had the you know the treaties and things that we did around nuclear proliferation because nobody wins in those kinds of wars. I mean, it's just
right, and
total
what
annihilation and destruction, you
right.
know?
It's just so much. It's like I'm telling you, D, like I see the stories come through on my phone. I think we talked about this like in message, like on Twitter. But it's really hard, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that it's just so hard to talk about this stuff because it's frustrating. Like, of course, I love talking to you about it, but even my daughter, she's like, when we're on the way to go do something this morning, and she's like, "Can we talk about can we talk about Snap? And can we talk about what Trump?" I'm like, "I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it." I was like, "I'm sick of politics." I'm like, "Can we just ride in the car and just have like a normal conversation that does not involve any bad thing that Donald Trump is doing?"
I
Because
hear
it is
you.
exhausting. It is
Sometimes
exhausting to
you
see it,
it
to hear it, to talk about it. It is very I'm like, honestly, if just talking about this on these formats, like with you and of course with Zach and Kenny on Wednesdays, I'm like content. Like I don't want to talk about this stuff on my timeline. Like I am that at that point where I'm sick of it. It's too crazy.
it really is, and I have created strategies for myself. First of all, I unplug a lot when I'm feeling like that, and I have specific places that I go to get the news. Because you and I, no matter how frustrated and disgusted we get, we are going to stay informed because we understand how important it is. And, like with the military thing, for instance, like I said, that really I mean, it had me a little depressed for a moment. I mean, I had a visceral sickness in my gut over what he was doing, and it doesn't stop. And I'm one of these people like it can be awful, but I want to know what I'm looking at. I want to know what the monster, that's coming after me looks like and try to prepare and save myself as best I can and those in my community. And what is shaping up with this military, like it's already disgusting, but he wants to create these reactionary forces in every state. That's not a good thing. And that is not what the military was designed to do. We already have National Guards, and they have somewhat that type of organization reactionary, but it's usually to respond to disasters within the state and those kinds of things, not for civil unrest and crime. That's why we have police and state, you
Right.
know, police.
I'm
And
like, when I saw that story come through, like, I'm in the bathroom and I see it, like, I really should take the notifications off, but like you said, I have to stay informed. And I'm just like, "What civil unrest? There is no civil unrest happening. You're anticipating some civil unrest in advance when
no, they are
only
going to
and
create
you're well,
some.
that's the thing. I was literally about to say that they're going to create a situation that will cause civil unrest. So you are preempting what you are already going to be the chaos agent that causes this to happen. But I'm like, I think the people are actually smarter than what Trump and his crazies give them credit for, right? Because people
They're so steeped in their racism and all these other
exactly
things, they can't see straight. They don't understand
right.
what woke actually means. Like, we are woke for a
Right,
reason.
we already are aware, we're awake to the things that you are trying to do, and this is why you see Black people are not going out to protest. You see why there is mostly white people, older white people that are out there, and we've talked about this multiple times, but it pisses them off because this is not part of their agenda. Their agenda is not to blame other white people because what they want is white nationalism, and this is going against what they perceive how white people are supposed to fall in line, and so they are trying to play into that. But Black people are like, no, we're staying home, we're not joining this stuff. I mean, there are Black people, there are very few, but they are there. And even they're saying, oh, well, where's the young people? Young people know that they would also be targeted because they are going to try to like at what happened in with George Floyd protests, that they would incite to get young people and start blaming them for why these
Oh,
things are
yeah.
happening. So
I mean, and
it
he
is it
already
goes both ways. It's not just a racial thing, it's also an age thing. They have the way that MAGA thinks, we have to think ahead of them and be smart.
right, and because he part of the reason he passed that, um bill, well, it wasn't a bill, one of his executive orders designating Antifa as a terrorist organization is precisely designed for the moment that young people start coming out in the street, either protesting Gaza or protesting, the police brutality and things, which that is going to ramp up because that ties into the military maneuvers and things that they're using. And I shouldn't say military because these people aren't military, but DHS and ICE. What they have done is, of course, they're bringing ICE in, they're making, Lake Michigan a border so that
Oh
they
my
can
God.
have the CBP there in Chicago, but they're swapping out like the Homeland Security leaders with ICE officials and stuff. And these people, like, they're having trouble recruiting. I read an article where half of the ones that they did recruit didn't meet some of the training thing. They have had to lower the standards, and the training is not the same as they would be normally getting. It's shortened, and because they are so anxious to wrap up these deportations and everything, they're being careless and reckless, and you see that being carried out on the streets with people, like the way that they're treating these people in their encounters with them is so disgusting and illegal in a lot of ways. But I'm glad that the judge in Chicago now has Bovino having to show up every day for the next week or
Good.
so, and making them wear body cams so that they can't just lie, because of course that's what they do. But Black and brown people are used to encounters with the police and their stories being different, you know. Um, so the judge is seeing a lot of that because people are submitting a lot of the encounters, like
Good.
they stopped this family going out trick or treating and
Oh,
terrorizing kids, and it's sadistic, and that comes from the top because who but a sadistic person would prevent 42 million Americans from access to food and health care, and then try to blame the Democrats on the reason that they're not getting them. Who but a sadistic person would do that? And so um, he's that same attitude is traveling down to his cabinet and all the people that are working for him and the people that they're recruiting. Because let's face it, we've got sick people in this country. We've got people who like violence and take pleasure in seeing others hurt or hurting others. And so these are the kind of people that he's attracting into these services that are out here on the street. And with the purges in the military, they're also getting those kind of people, not people who are taking an oath to the Constitution, but they're taking an oath, even though they may mouth the words, that oath, what they really are supporting is the agenda of Trump and Project 2025. And so he's trying to create the loyalist in our actual military as he is in his cabinet and everything else so that they will do what he wants. And when all of the regular normal people and leaders are gone, this is what you're left with. So it could be a very dangerous time for us. And I feel like he has already started because he's trying to condition us as well. And we cannot let this sit with us as being normal. This shit is not normal. And we have to say so. But he's doing it now so that by the time the election comes around, he plans to create total chaos, to create this fear, to suppress the vote. And then who knows what, the folks who are taking the votes in, like, because now, Smartmatic and Dominion both, new owners or whatever, and who knows what will be done with that. But we have to really just flood the polls and know that this is really our last opportunity to stop this fascist takeover. It is with this election. I mean, other people have done it other ways once it gets further in, and we will again too. And I believe that we will, but I would like us not to get to that awful state of people being jailed and killed and starving. And he's creating the situation for it right now. If you starve people and people don't have access to health care, these are the kinds of things that create crime because
Exactly.
people are trying to
Exactly.
survive.
But that is all. But my theory on this is also that Donald Trump is very slick. Okay, I'm gonna say this in the most probably diplomatic way I could possibly say this. He is very slick. But what Donald Trump did today is he's trying to take the onus off of himself, and he is going to put it on the Senate and the Congress, and they don't even know what's about to hit them. Because what Donald Trump said this morning was it last night? It was last night, I think, that he says he wants the filibuster to basically be gone.
Yes, yes.
And when you do that, guess what that means? That now you can't blame Donald Trump because Donald Trump is telling the Senate Republicans to go ahead and go nuclear and change the rules. When you say go nuclear, so the people that don't know, that means that you want to change the rules so that you can allow for the filibuster to pass this. First of all, they don't even have a true bill to open the government. The bill that they had, which was the clean resolution, that only lasted to the 7th. Today is what day? The 31st. That bill would only last until the 7th. I think that was the original. So what are they going to do? Kill the filibuster to go to the 21st? I mean, you have to use common sense here, and they have none. So, but Donald Trump is, like I said, slick. He is going to put that on to the Senate now. And now reporters are going to the Senate and they're like, so are you going to kill the filibuster? And John Thune is like, no. And he's like, I'm rejecting that. So now MAGA is not going to blame Trump when they don't get their SNAP. They're not going to blame him when they don't get their health care. They're going to blame the Senate. And this is typical. And true to form of Donald Trump to take the blame off of himself.
Well,
And this is
yes,
where we are.
because he had his followers building a guillotine for his vice president.
Exactly.
You know, he's never going to take the blame for anything. I mean, like the crazy thing that he did with all the tariffs, and then he's going over to Chi, and Chi is like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll buy some more soybeans this year and a few next year. And he's trying to, tout that as a win.
When
You ain't won nothing. Chi really whooped your ass with those
he
tariffs.
really surely did. He said, we're going to Brazil and we are going to Argentina. Oh, and by the way, we just gave Argentina all that money. And now Argentina is going to benefit from our money and from China's money. So really, it's just a circular nightmare of what Trump does. And you have, if you notice, Trump is not blaming Democrats anymore. He is going to start blaming his own people on why they are not able to get this through, because he's going to say those Republicans, they can kill the filibuster. He is the worst leader of the party that they will ever have because he only cares about his own popularity. He doesn't care about theirs. So
Well,
we are
that's the
going to
thing.
watch it. We're going to watch this all play out over the next couple of weeks. But blaming the Democrats only gets you but so far. And when you're talking about people's lives, this is lives that are now impacted on not being able to get their benefits to be able to eat. This is not like the planes can't fly. That's a privilege thing, right? If you're able to travel, that's a privilege. When you to eat is not a privilege. That is a right.
It's a
And
must,
and
like
it's a
to
must
survive.
to survive. So he is saying, okay, well, I'm just gonna you're not gonna blame me for this. I already told them to go do what they need to do to pass this. But of course, the courts stepped in and the courts stopped this today, which was good because that is the last lever of checks or balances that we have on this government. And
Yeah, as weak as it is
as
sometimes,
weak
she gave
and
them to
slow,
Monday.
slow, slow, they're like, no, you have to use that contingency money to be able to continue benefits. That's the whole point of having a contingency fund, guys. And we'll see how that goes too. But it was two judges that decided that I think it's two separate cases that they said, no, we got to move forward with this. You're not going to
Yeah, well,
start.
one of them gave them to Monday, and I don't
Okay.
understand that, and I guess it's to, like, have some plan or something of
Right.
of reopening, so I'm still studying that, so,
Yeah, I didn't see that part. I just saw when it first came out and they said that there was two judges that stopped it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's good. That's a good thing. We need judges to step in and actually carry out the laws. The money is already appropriated for this. You're stopping money that's already appropriated, and for what? So you can,
well,
and
I
Mike
hope.
Johnson from D. Mike Johnson gave the game away. He said they asked him, and he said that Democrats that he's doing is because this is their only lever against Democrats. They're
Yeah,
using people's freaking food assistance to
yeah,
have a lever against Democrats so that what? Because you don't want to negotiate. If you what is the lever that you have that Democrats fold with no negotiation? Because that is what he's saying. Because you could have negotiated this 6 weeks ago. You've had 6 weeks to negotiate and you've done nothing.
yeah.
Nothing.
Well, they that's the thing. They have already capitulated because, they have given their power away to Trump. And they want the Democrats to do the same thing. And the Dems are not. And I am glad that they are standing strong. I was really, really happy to see an interview with Joe Neguse. I really
I
like
saw
him.
that, yeah.
And he, is talking to this reporter, and I can't remember, but of course, the way the question was framed was a kind of Republican framing. And he was like, well, wait a minute. And he rephrased it. And he was like, now, if you were asking me this about the Trump administration and that about the Trump administration, but, he put the onus where it belonged. And I really love to see Democrats do that. And I think more important than ever that they continue to do that with media, because we've known for some time that mainstream media is not our friend, and that they often have Democrats on and want to blame them, or what are you going to do when it's the Republicans who have fouled up whatever it is they're asking about. And I just love to see Democrats not taking that bait, and reframing it, and calling attention to it to,
He did a good
um,
job. Yeah, I saw it earlier and I was like somebody had sent it to me and I was like, "Good." I mean, Joe Goose is a very good communicator and he's very to the point, lawyerly, and he just said it. He said he reframed it perfectly, and that's what more Democrats need to do. Melanie Stansbury did the same thing with Jake Tapper
Debbie
trying to.
Dingle did it with, I can't remember who Alex Witt, last, Saturday or Sunday. I heard it. I was like, "Yeah, y'all are catching
Yeah, you
on."
gotta you got you at some point we have to like, flip the game on these people because they love using GOP talking points, but
Mhm.
we are way past talking points at this point. We are at the point where people potentially could starve, and I don't want to hear no damn talking points about stupidity. I This is why I can really listen to it. I of course know everything that's going on, as you can hear. I know everything that's going on, but as far as, like, talking through it, is going in one ear and out the other to most people, and I'm not sitting here arguing with people on no damn internet about what they should and shouldn't do. Y'all hate that. Y'all hate Democratic messaging. You think Democrats suck. So you know what? I'm not gonna sit here and tell you to think any other way. The Democrats are doing what they need to do. They are fighting this tooth and nail. They are trying to fight for the American people. And if you do not see the value in that, then guess what? I am not gonna sit and waste my time making a video for you to ignore what the hell I have to say. It's
Thank
not
you very much. And that's kind of where I am, Tiff. I've been there pretty much. That's how I've never like argued with those kind of people because I just see it takes so much energy and it is not breaking through. You know what I'm saying? So, my thing is to try to talk to reasonable people, who use critical thinking skill, or people who are not really engaged civically, to kind of invite them in and to, kind of pull them along slowly to help them understand, like, I know you don't like it. Everyone hates politics, but look at what's happening, or look at what you care about, and understand how that connects to politics. Like, who is making decisions that are bothering you or hurting you. I mean, so you can't ignore politics. You may not want to talk about it.
right.
You don't have to listen to all these pundits and everything, because as far as I'm concerned, we're as good as any of them on
Very
MSNBC.
right about that.
And I really hate hearing a lot of, like, big influencers and things bashing the Dems. We talked about that, and I know you guys talked about it on your podcast. Like, I get it. They're not perfect. There's a lot of critique, that could be given. But I feel like at this particular time, if you're just, you know, talking about how awful they are and people are applauding you, and that's good for you, you're not helpful either. Because at this particular time, there is a fascist takeover being ran on us by one party. And the other, while they are not perfect, are trying to keep us from going totally over the edge. And the policies and the things that they try to pass are for the people, for working people, even though they try to accuse them of not caring about the working people. I think they just don't say it often enough. But the policies and things that were passed under President Biden, that was all about making life better for regular folks, people. And, Trump, they come in, they try to squash the union. I mean, what other president has been out there on, picket lines with unions? And Project 2025 is all about destroying the unions,
Yep.
because big business does not want unions. They do not want taxes, and they do not want regulation. And, I just, I don't have a lot of patience for people who are just kind of into the performative aspects of, politics and social media, because, It's not helpful. And I know bashing the Dems gets you a lot of views or whatever, but at this particular time, if you have a platform, I think you should be using it to promote democracy and those who are fighting for democracy at this time. Because, I go back to my history a little bit. This is exactly what happened in Nazi Germany. You had a Democratic Socialist Party then, and you had the Communist Party. Those were two left parties, and they were fighting over, between themselves with the ideology and everything. And then they realized, of course, after some of them had gotten jailed or killed, that they needed to work together. And so, I am always about the need and importance for us to collaborate. Yes, some of those leftists get on my nerves, but I need y'all to understand and I need you to vote for harm reduction for all of us, for you, for us, for everyone. And I hate what is happening, but it is so horrific, and I think so many people are hurting. I do hope that it really opens some people's eyes, and even some of his own followers, because we all know the statistics on the folks that get SNAP and those benefits. Many of them are his followers, and so. What are they going to do? Who are they going to blame? I mean, they can't blame the Democrats.
I'm telling you, they're going to blame the Senate. They are going to blame the Senate and say, you guys could kill the filibuster. And what are we supposed to do now? We're not getting any benefits. You can't keep blaming. This is how MAGA thinks. I'm telling you, Trump leads them. He leads them into these kinds of things. And you're going to start seeing MAGA saying, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been on this from a month ago. She's been saying this, right?
Hmm.
Trump is actually falling into line with Marjorie Taylor Greene on this. And this is now going because Mike Johnson has no out in this. He has not been to work. He has no out in this. This is going to fall back on the Senate. And it will be very interesting to see what the Senate does next week because they are going to get the blame for this. I promise you, MAGA is going to
Well,
go in an uprise about killing the filibuster.
I believe it, but I don't think that they will do it because they understand the
Exactly.
consequences of that. So then, how do they?
Well, I'm
uh,
going to tell you. I'm going to tell you
how
how
do
they're going
you?
to get around this. I'm going to tell you exactly what they're going to do. They're going to
Okay,
say, okay, so they there has been times before where the filibuster has been killed for specific things, right? So
judges and
yeah, with judges and you go nuclear on a specific item. So I have a feeling, and you can always reverse it back. You can kill the filibuster, bring it back, right? They've done this before as well. They did this with
they did it recently.
raising the debt ceiling. They had Democrats buy in on this. They were going to kill the filibuster and they would allow them to do it and then they would come back and change it back. So don't be surprised if they decide that they are going to kill the filibuster for continuing resolutions only, which would allow them to get around cloture, which basically means that they won't need to have the 60 votes. It cannot be filibustered. And then they can move forward and just pass it with the votes that they have. And they know they have one vote, which is John Fetterman, who will agree with them. And they also know that they have that I don't think that Rand Paul is going to. So those two will offset each other.
Cancel
So
each
they
other.
will have 52 votes to go forward and move this. The problem is that I don't know that John Thune has 52 votes to be able to do this. And that's where Trump comes in because then he starts to basically blackmail people and start saying, well, I'm not going to give you any money for
Twisting
your
those
election,
arms.
twisting arms and doing this, which once again takes Mike Johnson off the hook. And Mike Johnson will pass whatever the Senate can get passed. And they can all applaud and pat themselves on the back and be like, look, we reopened the government. Aren't we the best people ever? Meanwhile, they caused this in the first place. But this is how these people govern. They don't govern strategically. They don't like to negotiate. They want you. My thing is, if you want to go and do things on your own, you have all three branches. Like I mean, they don't have all three branches. I mean, well, they kind of do, but the courts are at least holding, right, for the most part. But they have the both chambers in the Congress, and they have the presidency. That's all you need to get through this. Go do something about it. I am not opposed to. I have said this from the beginning. if they want to go kill the filibuster to do this, you are now setting a precedent. So when the Democrats are in charge again, they can do this and you cannot say shit. And go for
Yeah.
it. I dare you. I want you to do this. I want you to try to be the savior of the people, to show that you are going to be the ones to help them not get off a SNAP, even though you are the same people that are not giving them the contingency for the SNAP and the courts have to be involved. There is a lot that goes into this, but it also involves people not paying attention and the fact that they believe that a lot of people just don't understand nor care what is going on. But realistically, they will say, we allowed for those furloughed employees to come back. We gave people their SNAP. Vote for us, not those Democrats. Like you will see, it will be a shit show. It'll
Oh,
be a shit show.
oh, of course it is. I mean, because they're famous for, claiming there's a problem when with something, a system or whatever, like the election, but then, and there's not, but then they go throw sand in the gears, break the levers or whatever, and now it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because they created it. And the same thing with this. It's like, they threw the matches, they lit the fire, and so they're gonna, put it out, and they want people to applaud and call them heroes, But they created this chaos, and I'm glad that they have all of those. They have the House and the Senate in hand because, um, it's very clear where the blame, you know, can be placed with all of this and should be placed. And, I just hope that enough people have felt enough heat from them, because it is going to be even worse, that they come out, the fever breaks with some of these. Like some MAGA, they don't care because they're so steeped into their racism, they're never going to break away from that, and they also tried to condition them for that too. Remember how they were like, well, it'll be a little pain at first and then it'll work out, because Elon said it at one point, and I think Trump and some of the folks. I don't know if Russ Vogt did or not, but that was them trying to get people over this period. But they tried the same thing in Britain when they had Brexit or whatever. Though that austerity shit doesn't work. That is why Argentina is in the mess that it is in right now, because they tried all of those things and it won't work here in the way that they're trying to do it. And they're really not trying to govern, they're trying to control. They are working to take total control. I mean, we didn't even get into, since we've been here last, him destroying the people's house. I
Oh my
mean,
God.
like,
Yeah,
just,
it does. I think that's the thing that broke me is like that I have to like watch this shit. And then not only that, today I saw that Aaron Rupert he's posting pictures of the remodeled bathroom that he has with all this marble. Like how fucking tone deaf, sorry, I hate cursing, but how tone deaf can you be? That you are literally trying to turn the White House into some kind of Versailles palace and people are about to be starving. Like, what are we even doing here? Like,
it's
this is
so
getting
autocratic.
crazy. It's
Yes,
so autocratic. It's so disgusting, and it just goes to show that people when they decided that they were not going to vote or they were going to vote for him last year, the total disregard for our democracy should have been the wake up call that we should have seen, that people be like, oh my God, I can't believe that we're going to lose our. They didn't believe that this man would do the half the things that he's doing right now. And it's too late. You already voted him in. There's no going back now. The only way to get him out is in 2028. And these people are also talking about how he's going to stay for a third term. I can't even believe I like watched that on Monday. I'm like, put on MSNBC and I see them talking. Like, y'all are, how stupid are you, MSNBC, that you're sitting here and you're carrying what Steve Bannon is saying about a third term? You are playing into the game that these people play because they are trying to normalize from now the idea of a third term. And y'all
yeah.
are just playing right into it like big dummies.
Exactly. I mean, they always follow the shiny object, and he knows how to play them so well. The only one that I didn't hear fall into that trap was Lawrence
Of course.
O'Donnell. Yes, and he called it out just for what it was. Like, this isn't normal. We have a constitution, we have laws and rules for a reason. Just because you guys are ignoring them doesn't mean they don't exist. And it's not normal. We have to call it out, and we have to keep fighting and talking to people who will listen, not only just listen, but to get out there and to do something. At the very least is to vote. But there are other ways to get involved and to help. And I learned about a new organization that the guy who used to be anonymous when he was in his first season, Miles Taylor. I've always liked him. And he has now started an organization. It's called defiance.org. And I'm like, finally, some of you guys are getting it. And what it really is, it's kind of like a huge, kind of like club. You donate, and you can donate anywhere from $1 to 1,000. But they have all these different organizations kind of underneath them
Mm,
that they are funding. Like, they're not trying to build they're trying to build a funding for other organizations that are out there doing the work of pro democracy and fighting for it. And this is what the Republicans have done. That's what they do with the Donors Trust and some of these other organizations that they have. They have people funding, like the Moms for Liberty and other things, and working together and collaborating in that way. So I'm going to be really looking at that, and I applaud that effort, and I hope that we see more things like that, because it's all hands on deck. We need to be smart and savvy in the way that we fight this, because they're not going away easy. It's going to be up to us. The media is not going to help us. There's no savior coming. We're it. And people need to understand that and wake the hell up, because, this shit is not normal.
it's not normal, and you're right. There is not going to be any savior that is going to come and on their white horse and save the day from the tyrant that is in the White House. That's not happening. We will be lucky if we can actually win the election in 2026, and we have to work hard and try to fight all these things that are happening. But I think
Mhm.
the most important thing, as we started out the show with, I think the most important thing is Tuesday, and we have to win one Prop 50, which I think we will. We need to win Virginia, which I believe that we will win there too, and we must win New Jersey. So if you know anyone in those states as well as Pennsylvania with the judges, please make sure you are calling your friends, your family, text them, "Hey, did you go vote?" Like, remind them, put on your social media. Just remind people of the stakes of if they do not vote. And I know sometimes it feels like it goes in one ear and out the other. Trust me, I feel that way too. I have not made videos because I just don't feel like talking about it, but I have been boosting other people's videos who are talking about it. And sometimes that's just as good as
It
you making
is.
your
I
as
love
you making
boosting you
your own
guys'
content.
videos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you're not in the mood to make content. I'm not in the mood to make content, but I am happy to share other people's content and just remind, especially on Instagram, like, because that's where a lot of my family, that's their social media. A lot of them aren't on Twitter or TikTok, but they are on Instagram, and many of them live in New Jersey. So I'm like, go and take your behind and go vote, please. Because guess what? Sitting on the couch is not going to achieve anything, and I need y'all to go vote because a lot of people, excuse me, did not vote in the primary. They did not. I know my own family did not vote in the New Jersey primary. So you cannot be mad at the primary person who won the primary, which is Mikey. And you need to make sure you go and vote so that she can, at least at the very best, be a good governor. She will not be a bad governor. She may not be the perfect governor, but she will be better than Jack Citronelli.
No, he is a Trump acolyte, and we need to keep
and a
and get
terrible.
as many of them out as possible at the local levels because they get entrenched there and then they just move on up to the national level, which is why I work with the organization that I do here in Tennessee, Blue Tennessee. They have their roots dug in here. They've been here for, 15 years now, and we're working hard. It's hard work. It's not quick. It's not easy, but it's important because if we never contest it, if we never fight, we don't win. And sometimes that fight is long and drawn out. But we have to change the balance of power. We have to get some of these MAGA, Trump acolytes out because they are all very authoritarian oriented, because that's what Project 2025 is all about. The Heritage Foundation. It is about changing the nature of our country into a white Christian nationalist country. And that is not what we are. And we cannot let them, remake it into that. We get a chance, like they have torn up a lot of shit. So we're going to get a chance to, fix some things and to remake some things and let us envision, stronger democracy and guardrails and laws that we have seen, kind of be toppled over so easy at this, with them, so that we don't end up back here again. So I always love talking to you. Every 2 weeks, we're going to stay sane, even though some days it is so, so hard. But
Oh, so hard. But yeah, no, I appreciate this. And everybody, just so you guys know, this will be like our newer time because usually we have them at 1:30, but we're moving them to like later in the day. So 4:30. I feel like we have most of the news by that time anyway during the day.
yes,
So
yes,
at the end, just work and stuff. So we figured we would move it to later in the afternoon
I like
Friday
this
on
time. Yeah.
Fridays, and hope you guys can join us, and we can go into the weekend just kinda knowing everything that's going on, and then move on and talk about it again in 2 weeks. But it is insane, and tomorrow is November, guys. We started these in, like, May, right? I think May was the first
Yeah, yeah.
we've been doing this for a good couple of months now. We appreciate our audience and the people who join
Absolutely.
us and talk in the comments and all that good stuff. So thank you all for supporting us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I want to give a shout out to Kenny and Zach, who Tip does her Wednesdays with. And I love listening to you guys chop it up. So, find these great voices who are informing people and amplify their messages. When Tip isn't, she's amplifying others. So you can amplify the things that you see her amplifying because that they are vetting their sources, like you're not getting junk. And just before we close out, I want to say something about Tennessee because I was so irritated this week. There was an account that this influencer had 120,000 followers, okay?
Mm.
And she made a post and she made it seem like it just happened. A race here in Tennessee that this Nazi loving mayoral candidate was running for, and she lost and it turned blue. She was talking about my neighboring county. And the thing of it is that race happened in 2023. The city did not go blue because it is a very Republican city. It's where Marsha Blackburn hails from and where our governor hails from. What it didn't do was go MAGA, and that is in part due to the great reporting of Phil Williams, calling it out and exposing, her Nazi connections and all of them helping her, in her campaign. But when people do things like that, they don't do us any favors. And I don't think any more of them than I do the pundits who want to bash the Dems or both sides shit or whatever. It's not helpful. So just know, just because people have big accounts don't mean that they are providing good information. So
Absolutely.
you have to be
Some of those
savvy.
people, yeah, some of those people are just straight up grifters. So you got to
Yes.
understand that these people are about their money and they will say anything that they can to get that money. So even if it means bashing the Dems or it means that they are going to just talk negative, there are more people that feed into negativity than do positivity. Unfortunately, that is just the case.
It
It's sad to
is.
say.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted, remind you guys to be very savvy in your, just hone those media literacy skills. It's important
Exactly.
because part of what we're fighting is also an information war. And make sure that you join Tip and I back here in 2 weeks. And you can join me in over on Spoutable in the Good Trouble chat. I have it every Monday. I've been doing it for 5 years now. I cannot believe it.
I know. Crazy.
Yes, but on Spoutable, every Monday at 12 noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And then when I'm not doing this Friday, Fired Up Friday with Tip here, I'm also on Spoutable in the evenings at 8:30, and I dig into white supremacy and white Christian nationalism, which I believe is really the biggest threat that we're facing in our democracy. So please join me in any of those places. Join Tiff, Zach, and Kenny over on YouTube on Wednesdays. And of course, come back here and join Tip and I in 2 weeks. Until then, you guys have a wonderful weekend.
Enjoy. Bye,
Bye
guys.
bye.
Happy November early.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.